For me, to be an Indigenous person, it's more than just identifying with a group. It's about a philosophy, an approach to life. It's about conservation. It's about knowing who you are as a person.
One of the things that we've always talked about and believed in is that the greatest gift that we can give our kids is an education.
Even though you're from a small community and even though people tell you can only have small dreams, there's just so much out there. If you're passionate about something, you can do it if you believe in it. Even if it's looking grim like we won't win, gonna fight to survive yet to the end.
Stand up for yourself, stand up for your people, be strong for them. You're here for a reason. Don't let other people think that you don't belong here, because you do.
When they're seeing these kids go back well educated with great jobs and university and careers, they really become role models and they look up to them. It has this amazing ripple effect through the community, through the family, and then collectively across the nation.
Well, out of this set of young people, we will see he or she will become the first Indigenous Prime Minister of this country.
Australia, a country built on hard work and opportunities. The opportunity to come somewhere like this, Sydney University. The chance to create a new Australia. You're about to meet our leaders of tomorrow. All bright young students, all Indigenous trailblazers. From the heart of our big cities to the farthest corners of our nation, you'll get to meet these inspiring young Aussies and will reveal the scholarships that make it all possible.
I feel so special, and I have a whole culture of strong warriors and ancestors that have just carried me through my life so far. Such gifts and strength and confidence to be myself, and that what they did for me is something that I need to carry forward for the future generations. Who people are and who they want to be can be so vastly different.
17-year-old KIRRAH STOTHERS is travelling more than 2,000 kilometres to be the person she wants to be. Going back to school after the holidays means driving from the top of Australia to the bottom. A lot of households, especially in rural areas, they go through a lot of traumatic experiences, and you see that, in the neighbourhood. Were there things going on in Catherine that triggered in you a sense of injustice and the fact that you would like to reach out and help those who are less fortunate and are not in a position to empower themselves?
Yeah, I think that in Australia, we forget that there are some places in Australia that are really undeveloped, and these communities don't have the resources that our major cities do. And growing up with that right in front of me, it showed that not only we can be so disconnected from something in our own country, but that it's up to us, the next generation, to step up and do something, to make sure everyone in this country has equality. And I think that's something that was really a driving force for what I wanted to do, what I wanted to study, and where I see myself in my life.
KIRRAH is a scholarship winner. With the help of the Australian Indigenous Education Foundation, or AIEF, she's going to Adelaide's prestigious Seymour College, a world away from rugged Catherine, deep in the Northern Territory.
And I was like, Mum, Dad, what do you think about me going to boarding school? She looked at me dead in the eye and she was like, you have to do it if you want to go. And I was like, okay. So I Google searched for days and days and hours on end, and I came across the AIEF website.
You know, it was almost like a little assignment she presented to Simon and I with her little proposal where she was ready to go to. We knew she was quite serious once she started that research. She did all the applications, she wrote the support letters.
Simon is a mechanic and Kylie works in Indigenous health. KIRRAH's scholarship was a gift they didn't even know existed.
I saw it as a great opportunity. I keep emphasising her to make the most of it while she's down there and get the best education she can. We wouldn't be able to afford to send her there. It's simple as that. Yeah, so it's great, absolutely great that it gives her an opportunity to fulfil what she wants to do in her life, and without it, she wouldn't.
What was it like day one, walking through the gates and arriving at what would be your new educational life?
I dreaded it. I was so nervous. I didn't want to be. I was like, why did I sign myself up for this? I regret it. And then, I don't know what happened, but I cried a lot. I cried a lot in the first few weeks. I was like, Mum, come back and get me. And she's like, you wanted to be here, you have to stay. And I was like, I don't want to.
Oh, walking away was the hardest thing ever. She was crying, I was crying, there was tears everywhere. We kept saying, this is the plan, this is what we aimed for, this is where we're going, you'll be right, you know. So she was fine. She settled in after a couple of nights. I think I needed more support than she did in the end.
And then I talked to someone in the locker room, and that was it. And then I stopped calling home as much, and then I was making more friends, and I was speaking in class more, and I was getting along with the teachers really well. And then it was like this flip the switch, and then everything was fine.
Bet you're glad you didn't give up.
Yeah, I'm really glad I didn't.
So what were some of the first experiences that you've had here in your life? Like first times of doing certain subjects or sports or wearing amazing uniforms?
Yes. We didn't really have uniforms in my old school. So this was like a foreign concept. The backpacks that are all the same, like we all had the same things. Also the rules, all of the rules. And also how like the teachers speak to us. They don't speak to us like we're like children. They speak to us like we're equals, and I think that was really beneficial in how I approached my learning, because I felt like they think I'm smart. They think I'm supposed to be here, and they really want me to learn and enjoy the content. And so they really tried their best to do that and to deliver that for me, which I adored and I adore now, and it just makes learning so much easier.
KIRRAH took me for a walk through her boarding house at Seymour.
So you get more space?
More space.
This is beautiful. So this is obviously part of your family, your friends, your life. So every morning you wake up and they're all here, all their beautiful smiling faces.
And it makes me feel a lot better, you know, because we have a lot of family photos in my house. So seeing all of their faces, like every day as soon as I wake up, it helps ease the homesickness.
Which one's your favourite one?
This one is one of my favourites because it was from my 15th birthday, and I'm covering my cousin's mouth because he's trying to blow out my candles on the cake. And so I'm like, stop, please. So this is the senior common room, and the year 10s, 11s and 12s can use this space.
Guess who?
This is our Guess Who baby photo wall for the year 11s.
I love this.
All of our little baby photos.
So you're here?
Yes, I am here.
Can I guess?
Sure.
This is going to be embarrassing if I get it wrong. Let me look at you. Maybe this one?
No.
I don't know. It's got some good hair. This one? All right, give me a hint. Who are you? Which one are you?
This one.
Oh, of course. Very cute.
Andrew Punfold didn't know baby KIRRAH, but a decade ago he was creating something that would change her life.
Well, Andrew, I read a powerful message by you by saying, opening the doors to quality education, we have the power to change a nation. Is that where true change comes from, education?
Absolutely. I think education's always been the path out of disadvantage or improvement of society throughout human history. Doesn't matter what race, colour or creed, education is the silver bullet in my view.
Andrew established the Australian Indigenous Education Foundation in 2008. He's helped hundreds of valuable young Aussies like KIRRAH get a quality education at the best schools in the country.
A lot of kids in Aboriginal communities have kind of questioned the value of education. Everyone around them doesn't finish school, or many people who do finish school don't go on to university or employment, and the kids have seen a lot of kind of confusion around why the benefit of education is there. What is the benefit? When they're seeing these kids go back well educated with great jobs and university and careers, they really become role models and they look up to them. So it doesn't affect just the kids' families themselves who are fortunate enough to receive the scholarship. It has this amazing ripple effect through the community, through the family, and then collectively across the nation.
Well, I want to do a law degree, and then I have to do, I think it's a Bachelor of Arts to do my international relations degree.
Have you done any Year 12 subjects this year? No. So she only needs 4 as a minimum because she's also got Cert 3.
KIRRAH wants to become a lawyer, leading her community and our country.
Nice to meet you, Simon. Bye. Bye.
I also want to do a degree in international relations. I'm doing a global politics course right now, which has been amazing and I've loved it. So hopefully that, and then we'll see where it takes me after that.
KIRRAH is pursuing an incredible path thanks to the help of the program. Hundreds of young people have gone on to graduate and into university. But KIRRAH's education is just part of her progress. We all have a lot to learn when it comes to supporting those most vulnerable in our communities. KIRRAH, what have been some of the big turning points in your life and your decision-making about having such a strong sense of social justice and trying to make things right for those that you love and those in your community?
I think it was kind of the emptiness that I felt when I was first racially vilified. That was a big turning point. I was like, this is happening to me, but it's also happening to millions all over the planet. Why is this still a thing? Why do we still feel the need to validate someone based on their skin colour? And it was never a concept that makes sense to me.
Did it shock you that discrimination can happen to you, to your family, to your cousins, your mum and dad, that it still is very much in our own homes?
I think I knew about it, but I didn't know the extent of how hurtful it was and how much it changed your outlook on society as a whole. And my mum, because she has very pale skin, she's struggled a lot with that because people would say things about her culture.
Because she's not even black enough?
She's not black enough, and they wouldn't even realise. And then she stands up for herself, and that's always been what my parents have said. Stand up for yourself, stand up for your people, be strong for them. You're here for a reason. Don't let other people think that you don't belong here, because you do.
Hi, my name's AMELYA Sigi. I'm in grade 10 at St Monica's College. And first I'd like to acknowledge the Gimoy Walbara Yidinji, the traditional custodians of the land which we are on today.
Hi, my name is Lily. I'm in grade 8 at St Monica's College and I am 14 years old.
Okay, if we were to pick out 600 marbles, do you think exactly 200 of them would be orange?
Lily is learning about probability.
Oh yeah, 0.08.
Yeah.
In fact, the real probability of Lily achieving her dreams has been dramatically increased through her AIEF scholarship. 14-year-old Lily and her 16-year-old sister AMELYA are from remote Thursday Island in the far north.
If I didn't get the scholarship, I probably would not be going to school here, and Mum and Dad really wanted me to come here and get more opportunities. AIEF is like really good, and it helps us to actually do better in school because we know there's actually someone there helping us to get through school, so we need to work hard.
And the girls are committed to travelling back and forth from their tiny island home for the next 4 years of their boarding scholarships.
I'd speak to Mum and Dad every night just to see how everything's going, make sure all the family's okay, and tell them how school's going.
Most of the scholarship recipients start boarding school in Year 7, and for kids used to a tight-knit, extended family group, that can be daunting. But the promise of what life holds at the end of their education is their focus.
When I finish school, I want to become a primary school teacher, and to get there, I need to work hard in school. Little kids, they motivate me to become a primary school teacher because I just want to give them a bigger opportunity so they can grow up and be good people.
My goal is to become a paediatrician, and that is because when I was little, I met this really nice nurse, and she started teaching me all about the human body, and after that I've just become really fascinated with the human body.
KIRRAH's moving into Year 12, getting closer to her dream of becoming a lawyer.
When I was younger, my best friend, her dad's a lawyer, and he worked a lot with child protection and domestic violence in our community. And watching him, you know, all of how kind he was and his kindness towards other people was something that I really admired, kind of set in place where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. Not only a turning point in my learning and my education, but just me as a person. The lessons I've learned, not only in school but outside the classroom, also have just kind of helped shape my identity and what I want to grow into and who I want to be as a person.
So we often will talk to KIRRAH, and I think that's where her passion for where she wants to pursue law and social justice. Well, KIRRAH's great-grandmother, my grandmother, was the first Aboriginal lady in Katherine to get a full-time job at the local hospital. And, you know, I vividly remember all of the things that my nana went through in her role for making change. Despite the racism we face, we look to make change and make a difference.
Who's had the biggest influence on you growing up?
I think the matriarchs of my family. The women in my family are so strong, and they're just these embodiments of power, and they're powerful, but they're very quiet and they're very reserved, but you can just, like, when you're around them, you just feel that the energy that they're giving off is something that's really out of this world. And I think them raising me to be a proud, strong woman, and then coming to Seymour, where girls are raised up and put on these pedestals where we can do anything, has been something that's really been beneficial through everything I've done so far. I want my grandkids and my daughters to feel like I'm quietly powerful, and I just embody that, and I hope that I can move into that when I get older and follow them.
Your Indigenous side, how has that shaped you as a young woman?
I think it's given me such determination moving forward. As a people, we survived some of the most atrocious things on the planet, and we're still here.
I try and teach them to be proud of who they are and don't let anyone tell them otherwise.
And I think no matter where life takes me, wherever I am in the planet, it's always gonna lead me back home eventually.
Do you feel like you've got the best of both worlds?
Definitely. I've pretty much got everything I could need.
Good to have you home, Jar.
As much as it felt like I was abandoning everything that I knew, it's not about that. It's about taking like the tools that you've developed and then implementing that into a new environment.
In 129 years, there's never been an Indigenous boy from Winton as college captain.
Something really remarkable, really. We believed in him.
Well, at Nudgee College, a school like ours, over 129 years, we've had some outstanding young men fill that role as college captain. In 129 years, there's never been an Indigenous boy from Winton as college captain. So I know last year when it was announced, there was so much communication in the rural community about how wonderful that was, that a young Indigenous boy from Winton could be the college captain here at this school. So it's a real credit to INJARRAS.
18-year-old Injarrah Harbour is forging a brand new path at his school, Nudgee College in Brisbane. He's the first Indigenous boy in the school's history to be named college captain. Since he was in Year 7, Injarrah has journeyed to school from his home in Winton, deep in Queensland's dusty outback, over 1,300 kilometres northwest of the state's capital. AIEF scholarships have made a massive difference to these kids from the bush. On average, only 47% of Indigenous kids finish high school, but more than 90% of students on these scholarships graduate, go on to uni and into jobs. Injarrah's brothers led the way with scholarships partly paid for by the family, and Injarrah couldn't wait to follow them.
I was excited and nervous at the same time. Excited because I saw all the stuff that my brothers were doing. So they had already been at school for probably 4 years by then, boarding school. And they'd come home every holidays with they'd bring their friends out and show all the fun times and just the stuff they were doing at boarding school. And yeah, you can't help but feel excited when they're coming home and bringing friends out to Winton and that sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, good to have you home, Jar. You're going pretty quick this year. Yeah. Quick.
In terms of missing stuff, it'd probably be, it doesn't seem like much when I'm at home because it's just stuff I do every day, like hunting and going out bush with Dad. But when you go to boarding school and you're away from that environment, you realise how special those sort of things are. I always look forward to coming home just to go hunting and walking around at bush with Dad.
Doesn't seem like that long ago when we first took you down to Nudgee.
Yeah.
Grade 7?
Yeah. I think it's just probably human nature that you feel accustomed to the things that you just, like a routine. This had been my routine ever since I've grown up. And it's just, as much as it felt like I was abandoning everything that I knew, it's not about that, it's about taking the tools that you've developed and then implementing that into a new environment, and that's all it was. Just get a different environment.
And what a different environment after years with the bush as his backyard school. Injarrah was just a little boy when he walked into the hallowed halls of his new place of learning. It must have been daunting. But he was moving out and into the big world. There would always be home and his roots to return to, and his very proud mum. Injarrah's parents, Tracey and Travis, made sure their children had a strong connection to culture from the day they were born.
We remember this chubby little cute, healthy baby. We sort of, knew in our hearts that he was very special. And we thought a long time about a special name for Injarrah. We looked to my mother's language group, Walluwarra, and we settled on Injarrah, which means star. It was one of those things where the name was something that was, given from the old people, and yeah, he certainly has lived up to it.
See one here somewhere?
For me, to be an Indigenous person, it's more than just identifying with a group or exhibiting common traits like shared with people. It's more than that. It's about a philosophy, an approach to life. It's about conservation. It's about knowing who you are as a person.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, wow.
Good one.
Injarrah is dreaming big. He plans to become a doctor and give back to the communities that raised him.
I've chosen to study medicine for me because it's a holistic, direct and immediate influence in terms of Indigenous people. I feel like it's going to allow me to do the most in helping Indigenous people in rural communities, because that's the plan. I want to work in remote Indigenous communities to help our people. And it comes from being in a rural town and seeing how the health profession and health system is not adequate and how good it needs to be. And it's also about the low representation of Indigenous people in the medical institutions.
I remember before Injarrah coming home, before the interview process, that we talked about, not putting any pressure on him, about him being okay, that he knew what he had to do. I remember waiting for the phone call. When it happened, it was one of disbelief. Well, not so much disbelief, because we believed in him. It was very emotional because it sort of brought back memories to me about how proud my mum and dad would have been. Just to know that, their grandson had achieved something really remarkable, really. There was lots to celebrate, because for me, this wasn't just about Injarrah achieving such a high status as the college captain. It was about something that all Aboriginal kids can aspire to, especially if they believe in themselves and they reach out for help when they need it. I remember saying to a lot of the other boys at Nudgee College that when it was announced that Injarrah was the college captain, that I had hoped that they'd all walk 10 feet tall that day, because it was something for them to celebrate, and it was also something for all Aboriginal families to celebrate. To have a kid from the bush achieve and be the college captain. So yeah, it was great.
There's something beautiful around this transformative journey that Injarrah has undertaken. That little boy struggling back in Year 7 to the fine young man who's here as college captain in 2020. There's something that happens in between that, which I think is a real celebration of Injarrah and the power of education to transform lives. For Injarrah to be successful at Nudgee's, he's had to embrace us just like we have embraced him. In embracing boarding school, embracing Nudgee College, that's around involvement. Those opportunities that boys are presented in the classroom, but in co-curricular or extracurricular life of the school, is something that these young people need to embrace when they come. And in doing so, they get the very best out of this opportunity that the AIEF and schools like Nudgee provide. And it bridges the gap from that young boy through to that outstanding young leader.
On behalf of the student leadership team, I'd like to congratulate you and thank you on how we persevered through Term 3. And now we can relax and soak up a well-deserved break. Have a good holiday, boys, and we look forward to an exciting Term 4. Thank you.
Mitchell Heritage is an alumni of the Australian Indigenous Education Foundation and a glimpse of Injarrah's future. Mitchell's scholarship supported him through university and on to pursue his dream of living in Sydney and working as a manager with the Commonwealth Bank.
I tell people this all the time, but I 100% would not be here doing what I do now without the scholarship. You know, for me, growing up in Brisbane, like it's a small town, sort of where I came from, there wasn't a lot of opportunity as big as the opportunities as you have in Sydney, and so it sort of changed the trajectory of like my life to be from where it was to, hey, like move yourself to Sydney, have a career in Sydney, live your life in Sydney. And so I've been here since 2011. Unfortunately for my mother, I don't plan on going back anytime soon. And so, you know, it sort of opened up a lot of doors, gave me a really big network of people, like-minded people as well.
Mitch is a great example of how the AIEF program comes to life. I've spoken to Mitch and I can hear in his voice just how important to him the AIEF program was, not just to support him in his university studies, but also to give him the ambition and the support to bridge into meaningful employment here at the Commonwealth Bank. It's been life-changing for him.
Scott Wharton manages the bank's investment in AIEF scholarships. For him, the future looks even bigger and brighter.
They've expanded their program incredibly. They've gone from one scholarship holder back in 2008 to now over 1,000 scholarship holders all around Australia, which is just wonderful. Fast forward another 10 years, I think the sky's the limit.
Back at Nudgee College, the school captain has taken up a sport he'd never considered.
Picked it up recently in year 11 with PE class. Terrible when I first started. I've gotten better, but I don't know, something about precision and focus has really attracted me. So I love playing it. I think it's in those times as well that you start to appreciate things more, because you can get caught up in the rush of doing stuff, work, school, sport, anything. It's hard to find time where you can really appreciate and realise and understand what you've got. And I think for me, it's in those moments that are so special to me. Yeah, those out bush, playing golf or fishing, that sort of thing.
Home in Winton for the holidays, INJARRAS local course offers unique challenges.
I guess for me, one of the things that we've always talked about and believed in is that the greatest gift that we can give our kids is an education. And AIEF allows us to give our sons a high-quality education, which will allow them then to take their place in society.
At the start of the year, I probably was a little bit nervous for graduation, but I think that after the experience this year I've had, and I think I've realised that I'm ready to leave school. I think as much as schooling's been a wonderful experience for me, it's been a necessary experience for me. I think I'm ready to, go to university, live independently, and take the next step.
It gets hard sometimes. Even last week I was homesick.
I didn't think she was going to follow through with it.
You really want to do this. You do make mistakes here and there. You learn from those mistakes.
You're like 1, 2.
I've also learned a lot of skills, especially like spending money, which is a huge thing. I love just the adrenaline that you get, and you're like, oh my God, this is about to happen. And then especially like being on the blocks, they blow the whistle and it just goes silent. And then all you hear is a beep and then you're off. And then just being like real fast, and then when you hit the wall and you look up and you're like, oh my goodness, like I just done that.
So what's your totem?
I'm not too sure about my totem, but I've learnt that my birth totem, like my star totem or something, is the platypus, which is, yeah, pretty interesting.
So that works with you because you're definitely a water baby. You
Yes.
love being in the water.
I love the water, yeah.
It's a long way from regional Dubbo in New South Wales to the glittering blue waters of the pool at Pymble Ladies College in Sydney City. 14-year-old local swimming champion ASPEN Moore won an AIEF scholarship to the elite Sydney school.
I feel like once I'm in the water, it's just, the feel is just so smooth. And it's like, if you're having a bad day, you hop in the water and it's like, it's just silence. And you can like sing a little song to yourself. And it's like you just forget about everything and you just swim. And it's just very comforting and just like so smooth and like, it's amazing.
Aspen is in her second year at the college. Watching over her and a growing group of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander girls is Kate Howie, the school's Indigenous student coordinator.
You mentioned the scholarship's been in place here for 10 years. Over that time, who's been some of the success stories that you've heard?
Well, our first ever graduate, Jess, is she went on to study medicine down in South Australia, and she's gone back into community up in the Northern Territory and is working there as a doctor, which is fantastic. We have primary school teachers, we have lawyers, we have girls who've gone into the medical field, nursing, quite a few graduates who are now at universities all over Australia.
And all through that process, they've always had that connection to culture and an ongoing learning of their identity to understand a little bit more about who they are and where they're from.
For me, I just, like, it's heartwarming to just see these girls grow as young women, and I'm very lucky in my role because, I mean, you've met Aspen. There's another 22 students at Pymble at the moment who are these bright, young Indigenous women who teach me something new every day. Like, there's not a day that I come to work where I don't learn something new, which is pretty special, I think, as an adult.
Well, they keep you on your toes.
They do.
So how do you find balancing what is a really busy social circle, your sport demands, plus all your studies?
It gets pretty tough here and there because, like, there's so much to do and so much on.
Tell me about walking in day one to the Pymble Ladies College.
It's crazy. It was really crazy. We drove through the front entrance. We drove through the wrong entrance because we had to drive through the back entrance. When we drove in, I was like, oh my goodness, wow, what is this? And Mum's just like, oh my God, I'm sending you here. Like, I have to say goodbye to you here. This is absolutely amazing. And it just blowed my mind. And then coming around the back entrance and seeing the pool and all the tennis courts and like underground parking, I was like, didn't even know this could be possible.
So you knew you'd made the right decision.
Oh, definitely, yes.
And it's a life-changing one. It's so full of so many wonderful opportunities for you, but regardless of how everything is so great, did you get a little bit homesick?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Even last week I was homesick. It gets hard sometimes, but it's good to know that like everyone's going through the exact same thing, and like you can talk to anyone in the boarding house, and like home's only a phone call away.
You're like 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5. Yep.
Spending time with Aspen fills me with optimism for our collective futures. She's a vibrant and hopeful young woman, and I feel in my heart that she's preparing to contribute something amazing to our society. And she may not have found her path if it wasn't for her AIEF scholarship, an opportunity Aspen discovered all by herself.
she knew what school she wanted to go to, she brought it to our attention and said, hey, I want to go to boarding school. And we're like, what? She's like, yes, I want to go to boarding school. And I was like, what school? And she's like, oh, Pimple Ladies College. I found a school for me. And I was like, okay. Then we looked at it and we talked about it and we're like, really? You really want to do this? And she's like, yeah.
I didn't think she was going to follow through with it, but she did. That's what she wanted.
She's just had that presence about herself, being a strong leader and knowing who she is as a person, but also she's quite gifted, I think. If she puts her mind to it, she can achieve it, and that's pretty much what she did. Like, activities with swimming, she could do it, and then academic, she was very good at that as well. So it was like, okay, what can this kid not do?
ASPENS teachers and the AIEF leaders proudly point out that the scholarship students give back more to their schools than they receive. They bring diversity, an understanding of their ancient history, and the opportunity for their fellow students to understand the deep spiritual connection that these young people are bringing for generations to come. What's your connection to country like?
It's really powerful, I have to say. Like, I love doing acknowledgements to country. So I got to learn the acknowledgement in Wiradjuri, which I've brought to school now. So I feel really good when I do the acknowledgement because I feel like a little connection to the land, and yeah.
I'd like to give a huge thank you to our middle school liaisons, Faith Sherwood, Alexandra Johnson and Emily Reid. During and after online learning, you continue to support us and entertain us by not only creating hilarious videos, but also organising engaging events. Thank you again on behalf of middle school.
What do you think you've learnt about yourself since you're here?
I've learnt that you can't be perfect. Even if you try, you can't be the best, you can't be the best at everything. You do make mistakes here and there, and you learn from those mistakes. And I've also learnt a lot of skills, especially doing washing and organising and taking care of myself and having to go out and buy things I need to buy and spending money, which is a huge thing. Just learning just to calm down and just be I don't need this, put it back.
Do you feel like you're quite an independent young woman?
Yes, I feel like I've grown a lot in independence, and I feel like you only live once. Why not just give it a go? Go out and just try your hardest, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
Ken White's experience is that it will work out for Aspen. Ken was the first Indigenous member of the House of Representatives, and Aspen's journey strikes a very personal chord.
Well, see, I went through to year 10 in a country town. My parents couldn't afford to send me away, and the local businessmen, the CWA and the Rotary Club, went and saw my parents and said, we're prepared to contribute to Ken's last 2 years of high school. They said, we believe he's got capability and he's shown a lot of promise, and so that's what we want to do. That enabled me to then do my leaving certificate, which was years 11 and 12 in those days, and then ultimately go to Teachers College and end up where I am now.
This revered leader has high hopes for the hundreds of children who've now gone through the AIEF program.
Some will end up studying in Oxford or Harvard, come back and then fit within a political party and ultimately will rise to the leader of that party, which when it wins government, he or she will become the first Indigenous Prime Minister of this country.
You could call it the kindness of strangers, but Ken White doesn't believe that this scholarship program is about kindness. It's about our country being clever. It's about unearthing that skill and talent that will ultimately benefit all of us.
Do you feel like a little bit of a trailblazer for your community?
Feels very special just to think that, like, you're from Dubbo, you can do so much more than what people like expect, and I just like hope to be like a good role model just to show people that even though you're from a small community and even though people like tell you you can only have small dreams, there's just so much out there, and you just need to, if you're passionate about something, you can do it. You can make it to these big places and you can do what you want to do if you believe in it.
Her list keeps on changing, her career path's what she wants to be when she gets older, but she keeps on coming back to a doctor for now, but time will tell that she wants to do something
then she wanted to be a beautician last night.
I just hope she follows through with her dreams, what she wants to do and what she wants to become, and be confident and don't change who she is. She's an outgoing, happy, bubbly person to be around, but also a great role model. Like, she's just, yeah, she's one of a kind. I shouldn't say that, but I will. I'll be in trouble for it.
Your dreams must feel so much closer now. Do you feel a responsibility to go back to community and give back to some of those other girls and young boys who haven't had the chance?
Definitely, definitely. I feel like if I do this, then I feel like other people will be like, she can do it, I can do it. And I just feel like you can do it if you really want to.
My journey with these young Indigenous scholars has been an eye-opener. And if these students are anything to judge by, the future of our country and our Indigenous connections are in very promising hands. As the scholarship continues to expand and thousands more children benefit, they will go on to lead. As Ken Wyatt says, our first Indigenous Prime Minister is coming to a school near you.